Evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Sacramento County Planning Commission hearing for Monday, August 25th. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Good evening. Commissioner Conklin?
Here.
Commissioner Devlin?
Here.
Commissioner Verga?
Here.
And with those members, we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And will you please join me and our fellow commissioners? Devlin, will you please lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the clerk, is there any announcements?
Yes. The county fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and the use of courteous language. The Commission does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, or gestures or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed toward any meeting participant. Seating may be limited and available on a first-come, first-served basis. To make an in-person public comment, please complete and submit a speaker request form to the clerk. Each individual will be invited to the podium to make a comment. Members of the public may send a written comment, which is distributed to commission members and filed in the record. Contact information is optional and should include the meeting date and agenda off-agenda item number as to be sent followed. Email a public comment to boardclerk@saccounty.gov and mail a public comment to 700 H Street, Suite 2450, Sacramento, California, 95814. And that is the end of the announcement.
Thank you very much. And will you please read out the first agenda item on our contested portion of our agenda this evening?
Item number 1 is PLMP 2024-00059. This is a use permit, a special development permit, a variance, a development plan review, and design review. The property is located at 4748 Engle Road, approximately 533 feet from the intersection of Engle Road and Mission Avenue in the Carmichael community, and the environmental document is exempt.
Thank you very much. Staff, we have a presentation.
Okay, perfect. Yes, we do have a presentation. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Irving Huerta, Associate Planner and Project Manager for the 4748 Engle Road multifamily conversion. We'll go ahead and get started with a brief presentation. Our first slide is location and setting. So the project site is located over at 4748 Engle Road, approximately 533 feet from the intersection of Engle Road and Mission Avenue in the Carmichael community. The current setting of the project site is a vacant office building. And that the project site is denoted in that red shade right there on your screen. Moving on to community context, the project site is zoned for Business Professionals Office, BP, and it is within the Mission Oaks Neighborhood Preservation Area. Surrounding land uses include the following. Over to the north, we do have existing single-family residential. To the south, multifamily residential. I believe those are the townhome condos. Over to the east, we have single-family residential. And to the west, single-family residential, as well as medical offices. So moving on to site and entitlement history. There's been several entitlements associated with the project site. There was an existing monument sign that was approved back in December of 2017 through an incidental design review, as well as a minor use permit for a music school that was approved back in March of 2020. The project site previously did have an entitlement, kind of doing the same that's being brought forward to you today, which was for the conversion of an existing office building to 20 multifamily dwelling units. That item was actually heard by the Board of Supervisors back in April of 2021. However, the board did not take action on that proposed entitlement and instead dropped the item after the public comment period. The board did provide recommendations to the applicant team at the time on kind of how the proposed project could be improved. Some of those was kind of lowering the density amount, so the number of units, kind of changing the aesthetic appearance of the building, to consider senior housing. Those were some of the recommendations that the board had provided then. After several months, the applicant eventually withdrew their application in late 2021. Additionally, there were no active code enforcement cases associated with the project site. So moving on to the entitlement request slide. This one is, again, a bit hefty, as you can see on the screen. The first of which is a use permit, and that is to allow for the conversion of an existing office building into 16 multifamily dwelling units within the BP zoning district. A special development permit to allow for the proposed project to deviate from the following development standards. That is the parking lot landscaping requirement, covered parking, unit entries, aesthetics, private open space, and private open space depth. I'll go more in depth once we go through the exhibits later on in the presentation. The request also includes a variance, and that is pursuant to the Mission Oaks Neighborhood Preservation Area to deviate from the landscaping plan to requirement of 25 feet when adjacent to the interior boundary lines of all adjoining residential, recreation, and agricultural residential zones. A development plan review pursuant to the Mission Oaks Neighborhood Preservation Area for the development of non-single family residential use of the property described in the section 532-12.1 of the Mission Oaks NPA. And then a design review to determine substantial compliance with the Sacramento countywide design guidelines. Moving on to environmental review. So the project is exempt from CEQA, and that is pursuant to CEQA Public Resources Code, section 21159.25. That Public Resources Code, 21159.25, exempts infill development within unincorporated areas, meeting the criteria outlined in that section. So these next couple of slides, we're going to go over through the project exhibits, kind of talk a little bit about kind of what's being proposed and kind of show where the deviations are going to be requested at. So this first slide right here, this is an overview of the proposed site plan. Not much is changing in terms of access. We're going to continue to have the site being accessed by the existing driveway entrance over here on Angle Road. And then that driveway right here exists currently as this part right here depicted. Additionally, the gate, the security gate that is currently at the site, that's going to remain as well for privacy. Pedestrian access, we are going to have a combined of existing and new sidewalks throughout the site as well. We do currently have, I believe, some sidewalk along Angle Road that connects over here to the site. And we also have some sidewalks right here around the interior of the building area, and then access over here to the other parts of the site, such as the common area, parking area, and trash enclosure. Parking-wise, we do have a proposed total of 24 stalls. Those are located pretty much throughout the site, predominantly over here in the rear part of the property. We do have some parking over here in the front, but that is minimal. Of those 24 parking stalls, 16 are going to be assigned to the 16 units on site, with the rest of the remaining 8 assigned for visitors. I do want to point out that the first deviation under the special development permit that is being deviated, that can be shown right here on the site plan, is for covered parking. The zoning code does require that one parking space per unit shall be covered. That can be either by carport or garage. As proposed, though, as you can see, we do not have any carports or carport outlines or garages for each of the unit parking spaces. We'll talk a bit about that more in depth in a couple of slides ahead. And then just some finishing remarks right here for the site plan. We do have a new common area that is proposed for the future tenants on site. It's basically like a barbecue area with garden beds as well for community gardening for the tenants, as well as a new trash enclosure over here. So moving on to the floor plan, again, proposal right here is 16 units. All 16 units are proposed to be one bedroom. Composed again of a kitchen area, dining room, living room, bathroom, and bedroom. And then all units on both the first and second floor, again, are going to be accessible via the existing pedestrian walkways and staircases that are on site. All existing doors, hardware, flooring, ceiling, and minor walls within the interior of the building are going to be demolished and reconfigured, repaired, or replaced. And again, this is going to be for all the new units within that existing office building. 3 of the development standards, again, that are being deviated under the special development permit can be depicted right here. The first of which is the unit entries aesthetics. That is basically having each of the individual unit entries having stoops, raised porches, low wall courtyards, etc. As aesthetic entry features. However, as proposed, the project does not articulate individual unit entries with aesthetic features as required. This is a result of the existing building constraints on site. The other development standard I want to talk about is a private open space. So each of the units does have to have a private open space, either as an at-grade patio, stoop, porch, or balcony for upper stories. Private open spaces have to be a minimum of 40 square feet per dwelling unit. The only unit that's not going to be able to meet this requirement is Unit 1. And again, that is due to existing building constraints. And then the last one is the private open space depth. So all the open spaces, again, have to have a minimum depth of 5 feet to ensure usability. And then Unit 14, while it does have a private open space, is going to be a little constrained. It's going to be under 5 feet. And again, it's due to the building constraints. This is an overview of the elevations. So as you can see right here, the exterior office building is going to undergo some major facade updates. The new facade upgrades do follow a Spanish architectural style, composing of usage of beige colors, stone veneer, stucco, as well as Spanish roof tiles for the building. Additionally, again, all doors and windows are going to be replaced. So this is an overview of the proposed landscape plan. As you can see, all of the area denoted in green is proposed as new landscaping. We do have a portion of the existing parking area that currently exists between the street frontage and the building. So this area right here, that's currently paved right now. That's all going to be converted into new landscaping. And let's talk a little bit more about that variance that's being requested. So within the Mission Oaks NPA, it does call for a continuous landscaping planter along adjacent boundary lines adjoining residential zones of 25 feet. However, the applicant is requesting a variance for this requirement and instead proposes a continuous landscaping planter along adjacent boundary lines adjoining residential zones. That planter width is going to be around 5 feet or between 5 feet and a half and 10 feet and a half. And that planter area right here can be depicted as this area right here along the property. The other deviation, the last one I believe that we're going to talk about tonight is the parking lot landscaping. So landscaped areas at the end of parking rows are required to be a minimum of 8 feet in width, excluding curbing. And as proposed, the internal end islands right here, as shown in the parking area, they're not going to be able to meet that requirement. They're going to be reduced down to 5 feet in width. And again, that has to do a lot with the site constraints that we're working with on site. Do want to note that the site is going to have a new 6-foot tall masonry wall along the northwestern, rear, and eastern property lines, where the property line abuts the residential uses. And then we are also going to have a new 6-foot tall, a new 6-foot and 7-foot tall wooden fence. So part of it's going to be 6 feet, part of it's 7 feet. And that's going to be proposed along the southwest property line, abutting the commercial office uses. So that's going to be along this area right here. And then the masonry wall is going to be along the property line that adjoins or abuts, the residential area. The only portion where there's no new fencing proposed, that's going to be located along the eastern perimeter line because there's an existing power line easement that is located. And so there's already existing chain link fencing with privacy slats. So that's located over here more along the northeastern side of the property. This is just an overview again of the site rendering as proposed. Again, this is depicting the building renovated in that Spanish architectural style, the new landscaping along the site, and then the new common area and parking space configuration as well. So moving on to advisory recommendations, the Design Review Advisory Committee met back in October of 2024, and they recommend that the Board of Supervisors find the project in substantial compliance with the design guidelines. At that DRAC meeting, the DRAC members highlighted the importance of underutilized office conversions to multifamily units, saying that this is an example of a sensible conversion. They appreciated the design overall and the addition of amenities for future tenants. The Carmichael, what was known back then as the Carmichael Old Foothill Farms Community Planning Advisory Council, met back as well in October 2024, and they recommend that the Board of Supervisors as well approve the requested entitlements. That vote came in as 5 yes, 0 no, and 1 absent. At the beginning of that CPAC meeting, CPAC members did have concern over the neighborhood sentiment, lack of updates from the previous application, whether the project was affordable housing. They did mention some dislike for the proposed architectural features and did suggest as well to consider senior housing instead. We did have 2 public comments from neighbors at that meeting in opposition to the project, citing that the neighborhood in the area is not built or adequate enough for multifamily units, and the other comments citing concerns over structural safety of the building. Even though we had those concerns come up at the CPAC meeting, the applicant was present and they were able to address the CPAC and some neighborhood concerns. So moving on to project analysis, the project is consistent with the general plan, community plan, Mission Oaks NPA, and the zoning code as conditioned. The project is compatible with the surrounding zoning and land uses. There's no significant environmental concerns. The project was supported by the Carmichael Old Foothill Farm CPAC and found consistent with the design guidelines by the DRAC. This is a market rate housing opportunity. And additionally, staff has conditioned the project with condition number 8. And that is, again, kind of regarding the original proposed carports. So this condition kind of stems from discussions that we had with the applicant team as well as with the fire department regarding access during an emergency. As a result, the fire department requested to not have any carports or garages proposed. And therefore, we added it to that development standard deviation under the special development permit. So with condition 8, what staff has done is that future construction of carports will be contingent upon the purchase of the property located southwest of the site, which would result in cross-access. Just to kind of give an idea of where that cross-access is, if I can point to it, this is the cross-access that we're referring to. Maybe the applicant can speak a bit more further on kind of the purchasing and such of the site, but the idea is to eventually connect the cross-access right here to the adjacent site in order to have fire engines basically be able to access the site over here, but as well as over here through that existing access that's currently blocked off by a fence. So moving on to, I should actually go back real quick. The last condition I want to talk about is condition 9, and that is regarding, again, future tree planting along that western property line. This, again, was as a result of discussions with both fire and the applicant. They had requested a 3-foot gravel path to be located along this area for potential access. I'm going to have to skip back over here real quick. I believe the landscape plan right here depicts it. So this is what they have requested. In the future, we will have to have some sort of trees planted along this side, given that we do have this gravel pathway now being proposed. We're going to go back and skip on to staff recommendation. So Planning and Environmental Review staff does recommend that the Planning Commission make the following recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. That is to recognize that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Public Resources Code, Section 21159.25. Approve the use permit subject to findings and conditions. Approve the special development permit subject to findings and conditions. Approve the variance subject to findings and conditions. Approve the development plan review subject to findings and conditions. And lastly, find the project in substantial compliance with the design guidelines subject to findings and conditions. With that, this concludes the end of my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. Additionally, we do have our applicant team in attendance as well, and they're available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff?
I'm obviously, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. Someone's addressed the traffic issues with a one entrance side of this complex in terms of the increase in traffic.
So when we first got the project, we distributed the project to our various agencies and departments. The Department of Transportation had notified us that even though this conversion would be going in, that it would not trigger the necessity for an LTA or a VMT analysis, citing that it was under the threshold. So that's my understanding on kind of how the traffic determination came about.
Okay. Can you go to the slide of the front, the lack of better term, street view of the front of the elevation? That's the top. No, flip it there you go.
Okay, perfect.
So with your variances that you're talking about in terms of different spaces and private areas, some chains not, that almost looks like a hotel. If you look at it, La Quinta looks like that. So my question to you is, and maybe it's more for the applicant, is are these one-bedroom units going to be owner-occupied units?
So it's my understanding it's going to be renter, so tenants, not owner-occupied.
So it's going to be tenants?
Yeah.
So it's not owner-occupied?
Not owner-occupied, yeah.
So it's basically an apartment complex?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that in the documents they talk about the CPAC for that area had a meeting on 2024 and went through the review process then. And was that based on the original plan when the supervisors basically dropped it off the agenda, or is that based on this new request? That meeting, I mean.
Yeah, so those comments, it was my understanding that a lot of the members that were on the CPAC back in October of last year kind of recognized the project from the original 2019 project. Some of those concerns came about of that. However, after the applicant explained further in detail kind of the modifications that they had done to the proposal, that's where kind of their thoughts started to change a little bit more. They thought that basically the old project was recycled, or basically kind of just the same, but this request is a little bit different in terms of the number of units, the aesthetics of it. So that's kind of the changes that came about with this new request.
So the original request that went through the CPAC then, this request has gone through the CPAC, the new recent CPAC?
Yes. Yeah, back in October of 2024.
2024?
Yeah.
So has there been changes to this project since that meeting?
The only change that we've done since was, again, the ones that I talked about that we had discussions with the fire department. So eliminating the carports and then eliminating the landscaping trees along the western side because of that new gravel pathway that fire had requested.
Okay. Give me a quick second. I'm making sure to tick off all the. So you're saying, you said that in the future there could be a covered carport based on the applicant purchasing another piece of property on the opposite side of this?
Yes, that's correct.
And what's
Yeah,
on the
contingent.
opposite side of this?
Pardon?
What is on that property that they might
Those-
purchase?
It's medical offices, is my understanding.
Medical offices.
Yeah.
Are they currently occupied?
It's my understanding that they are.
So how would purchasing those open the door to putting covered parking in?
So if the property owner were to purchase the site, essentially what they would do is that they would go ahead and record an easement to allow for cross-access. We did some research, some background research on whether there was an existing easement. To our surprise, there wasn't any, even though these buildings were constructed around the same time period. I believe under the same building permit, if I'm not mistaken, but no cross-access was ever recorded. So the idea here is that if the applicant were to purchase the site, they'd be able to record a reciprocal access agreement, allowing for future access for the trucks along Mission Avenue and not just along Angle Road.
So is there access there now? It's just because there's not an access permit, or it's not an access variance, they can't drive through there?
Yeah, there's no reciprocal access agreement. Even though it is connected, there's just a gate that's there, but it's locked up. Maybe the applicant can explain a bit further more on kind of, what's existing there. But based off of our knowledge, no easements exist, no agreement exists. This was, again, based off of research looking at previous, or what we call our brown books, where we have the recorded surveys from the 70s, and then as well as title reports that we worked along with the applicant to review.
And then the several variances you're talking about, asking us to agree with, all those seem to circulate around the fact of how they designed the apartment complex itself. Is that what it is?
This is based off of, but it's more so based off of the existing building constraints. They're not adding any square footage to the building. They're essentially keeping the building as is. What they're doing is just renovating the exterior in order to give it that Spanish architectural style, and then doing interior renovations. So those deviations under special development permit regarding to the private space and all that is basically more so based on building constraint, the actual building itself.
The physical size of the building.
Yeah, the existing square footage of the building.
So this building's basically a office building, right?
Yeah, it's sitting vacant, abandoned.
Okay. So if I understand what you're saying correctly, they're going to gut this thing, keeping the outer walls in place, and put in 16 apartments
Within the interior, yes,
within
that's
the
correct.
interior of that building.
That's correct.
Commissioner Verga, it should also be noted that when the project was first in 2019 under different property owner, we did not have our multifamily design standards in place at that time. So a lot of these special development permits were not required or included with that original project. So since that time when it was withdrawn and now it's under a new property owner, we do have more multifamily design standards in place that the project was subject to. So they did make more changes in order to comply with a lot of multifamily design standards that are now required. So there are some additional deviations here listed, but that is because our standards were updated.
So the deviations are a result of our standards?
Combination
We
of
have new
both our
standards, yep.
standards and building, the existing building footprint.
And you may not know this, but why wasn't the building just tore down and rebuilt into an apartment complex instead of staying within the four corners of the structure?
I would probably refer back to the applicant on that.
Okay.
I
wasn't
know
sure
that
if you
the
knew or not.
applicant specializes in conversions, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe they have more insight on that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. Can you go to the site plan? The landscaping top view, I guess, is maybe more illustrative. Thank you. The area which I believe is to the east, that square other side,
Oh,
to
over
the
here.
west, sorry. Is that that is a parking lot presumably?
Oh,
right?
this is the common area right here. Are you referring to the?
Further, keep going. Yep.
Oh, this is the parking area.
Yep. Okay. So that and the 3-foot gravel path, what is the justification for not putting landscaping in the 3-foot gravel path currently? And is there does the covered parking requirement apply to the parking lot?
No, but where that stems from, the 3-foot, is fire. Essentially, how we understood is that the fire department wanted to have access, essentially just in case. It's my understanding. I think it's to run, I believe, the hoses in case of an emergency. So that's why they're requesting that 3-foot. Gravel pathway along the property line over here. So that, I believe, my understanding is they would give them access to run a hose over here as well. Obviously, they'll have the engines be able to come over here as well. But it's my understanding, too, I think they're limited, and don't quote me, I think it's 150 feet is the length. So I think what kind of the strategy here for them is to just have kind of overall access to the site.
Okay, that makes sense. And to the requirement for the parking lot to be covered, what's the justification for not covering the parking lot?
So the covered parking, that's, again, a multifamily design standard. The justification for not including it is that I believe their engines as well as hoses won't be able to basically access them.
Say that again.
They won't be able to access the carports.
Won't be able to?
The engines with the hoses is my understanding.
Won't
in
be able
case
to access the...
the ones over here in the rear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll invite the applicant up.
Good evening. I'm Sean Freitas. I'm the architect. I've been working on the application design since 2019. I was originally hired by a previous developer who purchased the property. The original developer wanted to make as little improvements on the building as they could and give new life to the building by remodeling it for apartment usage. that particular developer was very, very keen on keeping costs low. So the original application basically kept the shell intact and endeavored to gut and remodel the interior of the building so that they could put the apartments in. It had 20 units originally. There was a lot of work done by staff and my project managers to meet the requirements, county requirements, and get the project designed and approved. And we had a lot of resistance by the community. And that original developer ended up withdrawing, sold the property to Onyx Group, who came in a couple years later. So on the second round, we scaled the unit count down, and we engaged planning and tried to come up with a plan that would be more acceptable to the community. Did more enhancements to the existing shell. The tough issue here is we've got a building that was built in 1973. It's 52 years old. It was probably originally part of a medical office regime that supported Mercy American River, the hospital that was torn down in 2000. And since then, it's been, as the building aged and the community aged and its use sort of became more antiquated, it's been harder and harder to occupy as an office building. And this issue is problematic throughout Sacramento County and a lot of communities in California where there's old, antiquated buildings, large parking lots, and these buildings are struggling to find new use. So the effort is noble. The effort is to take an existing building and create homes, create housing, apartment spaces for folks that need it. And that's what's driving the effort. To tear down the building from scratch and rebuild it would double or triple the cost of what we're planning on spending, and it would make the project much less likely to occur. So we're trying to find a balance where we can meet all the requirements of the county with their design standards, meet the requirements of the fire district, make sure that they have perfect access for fighting fires, and try to enhance the looks of the building without busting the budget and making the project too expensive or too expensive to rent. So we presented what we thought was a pretty good design in the end. I was at the meeting last October, and we had a pretty good discussion about how the project has progressed over time. And we were pleased that we got a 5-yes vote on that, unanimous. And we're here today to answer any questions you have. This project is ready to move forward, and we'd like to finish the project and create 16 new units for Sacramento County.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant?
I do. So basically, you're telling me it's not an affordable project if you tear the building down and start over?
It can be done. We can spend a lot more money, and we can make a really fantastic building, and we can go higher, denser, more parking. There's all sorts of architectural things that we could do to make it bigger, better. The problem is the folks that are developing this project, these are local folks. These are, folks that live in North Natomas. They're a younger group. They're working hard to raise capital and to justify these projects. Most of the folks in my office that are working on these projects have worked real hard, but we're not large, out-of-town, big-dollar developers. My parents live right down the street here off of DaCosta, and this is a neighborhood that we've been in for years. So we're all here together to hopefully get this project approved tonight, to make projects happen in our community by people who are from here that want to make our neighborhoods better. And so, yeah, I would love to have the client come to me and say, hey, let's tear it all down and do a brand new everything. But it's not feasible with the investment that's available for this project at this time. I want you to know, though, that the same development group, we have over 12 projects in the pipeline that range from this small 16-unit project to projects over 400 units throughout Sac County. There's 12 projects total that we're working on in a grand effort to get more housing available and to develop some of these infill projects that need some, they need some investment. So I wanted you to know that it was just not this project, that we have a whole raft of projects that we're moving forward. We have 2 that are on Arden that we're rapidly finishing now. Similar issues, very tight site. We've got access gates that were put in years ago with no easements for firefighting. It's hard to go back to a land, to somebody that owns the property next door and say, hey, will you give us an easement? So we have situations where we're dealing with existing buildings, existing development, existing road frontage, and trying to bring new life into these places.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, I have some follow-up questions.
You have some follow-up.
That's all right. Did you have any questions? No. Thank you very much. I actually live nearby and this property and visit Gibbons Park nearly every weekend and familiar with the challenges of this property and I do agree that the effort is noble. There are some, I think, significant and unique challenges that this property and layout and configuration presents, which I'm sure has been articulated and brought forth by the community. I'm just kind of curious what you've heard and what concessions the applicant or your design team have made in response to the community's feedback.
Well, the aesthetics, we've spent a substantial amount of money and time trying to enhance the building without completely destroying and reconfiguring it. So it's kind of a tough balance when you're gutting a building, especially a wood frame building, and trying to bring plumbing and mechanical and partitions, rated walls, all those sorts of things. It's already a difficult thing to do, but when you have to add a bunch of patios and there were terraces, outdoor spaces, those sorts of things, it gets more challenging. So we have spent a great deal of effort trying to enhance the aesthetics with the way the building is finished, refinished, new windows, new doors, and some of the relief that was added to the front of the building. The building's kind of an odd duck. It's kind of a contemporary spin on Spanish.
No, yeah, and I'm sorry if I didn't state my question clearly. The community during previous meetings have provided their feedback to the design and to the proposed project. And I heard earlier in your testimony that there's been some concessions made.
Sure.
And I wanted to get some insight exactly what those concessions were specifically.
Well, there was 4 units dropped. So instead of 20, we have 16 units. There's a parking deduct that goes with that, more landscaping. Better fenestration on the building, more outdoor space, more storage for the folks that live in those buildings. Just things that make it more useful and more livable for the folks that are being there. I think the impact of 16 families living on the site would be much better than 20 and a little easier to absorb.
Understood. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No? All right. All right, we'll move on to public testimony. As I understand it, there's a handful. We're going to limit public testimony to 2 minutes for any individual representing a group. We'll make that 4 minutes. But for those that wish to come and speak, now is the time. Yeah, come on up. And I think collectively, if we all stand up and take an oath administered by the clerk, that will kind of help speed things along.
And it looks like the first speaker we have in the queue is David Cousins.
Clerk, did you want to administer the oath to all of them? Yeah.
If you wish to address the commission, Please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give to this board is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners, and I was impressed with the presentation, and I think the architect and the applicants have made an effort to improve on the previous design. I have a few concerns that I hope you can consider in the form of other conditions. I don't see any incentive for the applicant or the property owner of this development to proceed with acquiring the adjacent property. If the issue is the access in an emergency, why can't there be an offer made to the existing owner of the adjacent property to pay for that access? That's my point. In addition, if there is difficulty for the fire department to pull hoses because of covered parking, perhaps as a mitigation measure, this project could consider fire sprinklers in each of the units, maybe in bedrooms or somewhere else. I think smoke alarms are required, but fire sprinklers are another level, and there'd be mitigation for some of the drawbacks. Finally, I'm not able to articulate the details, but if landscaping is being reduced and if trees are being cut down, then I would ask that conditions be added to improve landscaping elsewhere, especially where there's a single-family residence or that gate between the two properties. That's kind of a mixed issue, but it doesn't involve landscaping. But there should be access that could be paid for by the developer. My time is about up, but I would support the project with a few more conditions that would address concerns of the community. And if I haven't mentioned, I'm a resident in the south of Whitney, but I do walk in the neighborhood, and I care about the design standards that the Mission Oaks Neighborhood Association has seen the board approve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. And our next speaker, I believe we have Amber.
I'm representing Walnut. Can I have 4 minutes, please?
Please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Amber Villegas. I'm here as a neighbor that lives within the 500-foot radius of the Ingle Road project, as well as a board member of the Mission Oaks North Neighborhood Association, and also as a structural design technician employed by the State of California Department of Transportation. Myself and my colleagues at the Division of Engineering Office of Design and Technical Services have reviewed the following resubmittal dated 9/6/24 and have found a violation of CEQA PRC 21159.25 parentheses B, C, and a violation of California Fire Code 503.2.1. Section A, or Section 1, a misrepresentation of a second floor overhang adjacent to entryway. Infield measurements are adding 2 feet 3 inches plus or minus laterally into emergency access way. Infield measurement height of overhang to OG is 9 feet 2 inches plus or minus. Section 2, an inaccurate description of measurements of 3 safety bollards distance from building into entry access way. Plan set is 8.5 inches from wall to center line. Actual distance is 2.75 feet plus or minus. This is resulting in 11-foot 7-inch plus or minus driveway. Section 3, public utility easement, utility obstructions and dedicated easement. I spoke on the phone with a gentleman named Ben who works for maintenance at Sacramento Suburban Water District. When adjacent water well is online, they need an access road to service it daily. Section 4, with the discrepancies listed, I speculate that as-built plans were not used in creating all plan sets, even though they have been verified on file at Sacramento County Assessor's Office. I would also like to mention to the Planning Commission, I spoke with Gary Gasbury, the engineer that conducted the 4748 Ingle traffic study. He also conducted traffic studies for Mission Avenue Apartments East and West. He said to approve the 2 Mission projects, it was necessary to combine the traffic data from both projects. Since 4748 Ingle Road falls into the 500-foot radius of this already active projects, Mona asks that you include Mission Avenue, Apartment East and West in all traffic studies related to 4748 Ingle Road. Our Mona members actively have said over the years they do not want to see apartments at 4748 Ingle Road, and have asked numerous times for the property owners to update code violations and care for their property. In response to a project submitted by Ingle Partners LLC, this building is unsafe for any type of residential usage. In closing, I will mention that Mona is always open to discussion for the future of 4748 Ingle Road with any new or prospective owners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I believe we have one more speaker. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ricardo Rangel Reyes. I live within 500 feet of the proposed project, and I'm here to express my concerns about the effect on our neighborhood. First, I want to also say that I'd like to see the utility companies make sure they have proper access to that well. And if the designs are off or the dimensions are off, I'd like to see that fixed or taken care of. Traffic reports, I'd like to see, we were just here, some of us were just here maybe a year ago about the apartments, the 81 units around the corner. And that was a big fight for that. And that's something I know that's not a concern with this project for the people building the project here, but for somebody where I live, it's going to affect me too, along with this unit here. So I'd like to see traffic reports done that includes everything. Parking. I know there's less units and there's a significant amount of parking spots there, but still, we're not sure how many people are going to be living in each unit if there's adequate parking, because I can tell you right across the street there's a no stopping sign. I'm not exactly sure how far up and down that goes, as far as no parking. I know it's a little stricter than no parking. But our house is going to be the first place people start parking. Now, I'm not opposed to people parking in front of the house. Like, I go visit friends, people have parties, and it's fine. It's like, okay, there's parking there, So it's a different thing if it's permanent, if it's every day, if it's covering the neighborhood because we like to see the streets kind of clear. Safety issue if we have kids playing, right? It's like if you're driving and you have clear lines of sight with everything, you can see everything, but if you've got to drive through an area that's got cars on both sides, it's like, well, a kid can dart out or whatever it is, That's kind of one of my big issues with this project. In addition to the project around the corner is parking safety, and what's going to become with our neighborhood in that area. So, yeah, that's what I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any other members of the public that wish to comment on this agenda item? Looks like there's one in the back. Couple? All right. Well, we welcome you when you are ready. Oh, for item number 2? Then we'll proceed. Any other members of the public wish to comment on agenda item number 1? No? Okay. We'll invite the applicant or the representative of the applicant to come back to respond to public comment.
All right. So I'd like to get some of the clarification. The way I understand the agreement with the fire district, the conditions of approval, is if the applicant acquires a site next door, they will add carports back to the project?
That is correct. They're not. The condition does not require the applicant to purchase the property adjacent to the site. Is that if it is acquired or if there is an access agreement acquired, then they would be required to put in the carports.
And the way I understood it, the carports were considered by the fire district to be too overly restricted, too dense of the canopy, to restrict the flow of the apparatus on site during a fire event. The gravel path was something that was a condition of approval. That's not something we imposed. The fire sprinklers, the building will be fire sprinkled. It's required by code. There's a whole raft of brand new codes relative to excess compliance, fire, clean, energy efficient appliances. All the good things that we have in our current building code will be given to this building, including new seismic, wind, structural improvements to the project. The building essentially be a brand-new building with a brand-new lifespan. I wanted to comment on that. As far as the traffic study, my understanding is it's categorically exempt. It's already been reviewed. I'm not aware of any conditions of approval related to traffic studies. I'm sure staff could talk about that. And if there's any other questions you guys had from me, I'd be happy to respond. But I think that's all I had to say.
Any follow-up questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation. I'll start. I have heard, I went back to December 13th, 2020's commission hearing in the archives and reviewed that over the weekend and actually went over to the property and toured it this last weekend and wanted to at least kind of keep the framework of the property fresh in my mind. And obviously, the property was originally designed for a set amount of occupants in the business configuration that it is, and that the proposal is trying to conform with the same amount of units. So I understand that the traffic, increased traffic is kind of an argument that may not, that theoretically could, still be, if the property was at full occupancy now with all the businesses, would have potentially the same amount of vehicles. Although, there's, you could have 2 occupants to each unit and there's only 1 vehicle for each unit, although there are a myriad of design standard exemptions and variance requests that are of concern. I think this property presents some very unique challenges, and I think that that smaller multifamily properties, especially when you're converting an existing commercial lot into multifamily, which I do support those conversions of underutilized properties, but they don't always apply and they don't always fit. And I think this is one of those challenging proposals that is almost looks like it's a square peg into a round hole, and it creates, I think, some additional struggles for the local community. I think, smaller properties, like this could be utilized more effectively and efficiently if they were privately owned townhomes. I think for multifamily, the unique challenges of having often less professionalized management company, manage the property, are those risks tend to be higher. There are fewer resources, but those are considerations that aren't before this body. But what are these requests for deviations, and I'm looking at design standards that we have in place that this proposal can't meet, whether it's the covered parking, whether it's fire requirements for egress and ingress, whether it's individual unit entries with stoops, the open space requirements, not all of them are met, and the landscaping planner requirements. So I just feel that this property is, over time, really struggled with trying to meet those requirements and continues to fall short. And so I really struggle with supporting this project. But I'll pause there and pass the baton off to another who wished to comment.
If I may ask a follow-up question for staff. Regarding the carports and the condition that would trigger the installation of the carports, and I apologize in advance for like the particular, maybe detailed nuance of this question. But what are the specific conditions? So if that property was acquired, but how is commonality of ownership defined? Is it the same LLC? Is it the same ownership group? Is there an ownership threshold of 51%? Like, how do we get there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I have a good answer for you. But I do want to just note that it's the way it's written, it's that if it's purchased by the existing property owner. So I think we would be a little bit flexible in making sure that the property owners are the same, whether it's the same LLC or the same individual person. And it's also in terms of just fire access in general. So if there is like an agreement that's in place or something that's recorded, an easement that's recorded, that's something else that we would take into consideration and be acceptable as well.
Thank you.
I too have a lot of the same concerns you do about this project. It looks like we've given a lot of variances to try to help the applicant bring life to an old building. I'm not real comfortable with it being an apartment complex and not an owner occupied. When you talk about 1-bedroom units in that configuration, in that community as a whole, and I lived in this area my entire life, so I know what that community's like. I have, and I'm glad you brought it up, serious concerns about down the road management of that structure and how that turns out for the community, because it could turn out very poorly for the community. Just put it on record, there's a lot of downsides in the future. And we're given a lot of variances to get 16 individual units. So that's all I have to add.
I don't think I disagree with any of my colleagues' comments. It seems to be doing a lot, and I think if I could if I push back to a bit of a macro level, it's not necessarily the number of bedrooms, but we seem to be doing a lot in a little space here that may just be a little bit too much. However, I will extend the applicant a courtesy motion to approve the project as proposed by staff.
Okay. We have one motion by Commissioner Devlin. Is there a second?
For purposes of moving it, I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
And that item does not pass with 2 votes to no and 1 yes.
Okay. And as I understand, that's a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors?
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's no action yet.
Yeah.
So if the votes stay that way, there's not going to be a formal action. So your report to the board is just going to be 2-1, no formal action.
Okay. All right, thank you. Clerk, would you mind reading agenda item 2?
Item number 2 is PLMP 2022-00289. This is a tentative subdivision map and design review. The property is located at 7948 Sunset Avenue, approximately 133 feet east of the intersection of Sunrise Boulevard and Sunset Avenue in the Fair Oaks community, and the environmental document is exempt.
All right. Thank you very much. And do we have staff?
We do. Before Irving gets started on the presentation, I just wanted to make note, we did receive a number of public comments requesting a continuance of the item to a future meeting. So just wanted to point that out, that members of the public have requested that continuance. I believe the reasoning was scheduling conflicts. A lot of them
Summer.
travel. Mhm.
Yep.
So just wanted to bring that up. Staff is not recommending a continuance of the item, but just wanted to make note of that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Irving, are you ready?
Sounds like a presentation then?
Ready to go.
Okay, yeah, we'll get started. Okay, good afternoon again, Commissioners. Irving Huerta here, Associate Planner and Project Manager for the 7948 Sunset Avenue tentative subdivision map. Go ahead and get started with a brief presentation. So first slide, location and setting. Project site's located over at 7948 Sunset Avenue, approximately 133 feet east of the intersection of Sunrise Boulevard and Sunset Avenue within the Fair Oaks community. Currently, the project site, as denoted in that red rectangle up on screen, is currently developed with an existing home fronting Sunset Avenue and has numerous trees on site. Moving on to community context, the project site is zoned residential 5, that's RD5. I do want to point out, just for the record, that the information depicted under the surrounding land uses, I think got mixed up with another project of mine, so it's incorrect. I'm going to go ahead and list what should be listed up on the following. To the north, we do have existing multifamily residential. Over to the south and east, we do have existing single-family residential. And then over to the west, we do have some office vacant spaces as well. So moving on to site and entitlement history. So according to Sacramento County records, there's no previous planning entitlements associated with the project site. Historical imagery, as shown up here, aerial imagery does show that the property historically was used as an olive orchard. This is dating back to the early 1930s. Staff has reviewed recent code enforcement violations as well and concluded there are no active cases at this time. On to the entitlement request. The entitlement request being brought forth to you today, or this evening, I should say, is a tentative subdivision map, and that is to divide a 1.7 acre parcel into 7 parcels, as well as a remainder lot in the RD5 zoning district. The request also includes a design review, and that is to determine substantial compliance with the Sacramento County countywide design guidelines. So moving on to the alternative slide right here, kind of do want to pinpoint a little bit of kind of the background on how we got to the subdivision map. So as depicted over here on the right on this screen, there was alternative designs that were originally discussed prior to application submittal. The applicant, along with county engineering, which is our site improvements and permits section, did discuss several alternatives in regards to access, including cul-de-sacs, stub streets, and private streets. However, all the alternative designs eventually were not pursued based on a lack of connectivity to the existing street network and concerns over lot compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. This slide right here depicts the tentative subdivision map. And again, this is an overview of kind of what we're working with. Again, the request here is to divide the existing parcel into 7 new parcels. Those parcels are depicted right here. Oops. Wait, at the screen right here. These 7 parcels right here, and then a remainder parcel over here. So the proposed 7-lot subdivision does vary in lot sizes, anywhere between 5,337 square feet up to just over 8,000 square feet in size. That remainder lot, the one depicted over here on the left side, that one is to remain at 16,768 square feet, and it is going to retain that single-family residence on site. So while the map right here doesn't depict any specific building envelopes for the most part, it does depict the buildable area for future homes on site. And those are depicted right here in those dash lines in each of the individual lots. Access-wise, the subdivision is proposed to be accessed via a new 40-foot wide public street that would connect Shrewsbury Avenue and Glenbar Way. And that is depicted right over here. Class A street improvements and streetlights are to be constructed. That is curb, sidewalk, gutter, and that is pursuant to county improvement standards. While the construction of off-site improvements along Shrewsbury Avenue and Glenbar Way, they're not being required, but according to the applicant, they did indicate that they originally offered to construct the off-site improvements, that's curb, sidewalk, gutter, for the properties adjacent to the site along Shrewsbury Avenue and Glenbar Way. However, it was indicated that the neighbors had declined the offer. The remainder lot over here would continue to get access from Sunset Avenue, and it would be continue to be served by the existing driveway that is located over here. Another thing to point out is that just south of the project site, located over here, we do have north to South Street, known as Lago di Como Way. No connection is proposed or being pursued, as there currently no existing right-of-way dedication to that parcel just south of that site. Just a couple more points. Each of the parcels, as proposed, again, will be connected to public water and public sewer. And a little bit more about the on-site trees. So we did have an arborist report provided. There's a total of 135 trees on site, of which 21 of those are native oak trees. With this request, we would be removing a total of 125 trees. And then the project does propose to remove 19 of those native oak trees. 5 of those trees are in fair or better condition, but removal would require mitigation. And then why the tree removal is essentially occurring is to accommodate the proposed infrastructure as well as the buildable lot footprints that are being, as shown over here on this subdivision map. And then we do have some conditions of approval. We'll talk about those more in a different slide. That was requested by the DRAC for non-discretionary design review for the future building footprints and potential tree impacts. So moving on to environmental review, the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15183A, the Public Resources Code section 21083.3. Projects which are consistent with development density established by zoning, community plan, or general plan policies for which an environmental impact report has been certified shall not require additional environmental review. Moving on to advisory recommendations, the Design Review Advisory Committee did meet back on May 9th, 2024, and they did recommend that the Planning Commission find the project in substantial compliance with the design guidelines. There was concerns at the DRAC regarding the extensive tree removal. Therefore, the DRAC did recommend a condition to be added onto the project regarding tree removal, which we worked on with the applicant. You can refer to that, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a different slide, condition 8 and 9. The Fair Oaks Community Planning Advisory Council met on April 3rd, 2024, and they did recommend that the Planning Commission deny the requested entitlements. That vote was 4 yes, 0 no, and 3 absent. During the CPAC meeting, there was a total of 19 members that spoke in opposition to the proposed request. Statements of opposition included concerns about increased traffic and street parking, concerns over tree removal and grading, small lot sizes, concerns over dust, noise, traffic during construction, street connectivity, public safety, as well as future improvements imposed on adjacent property owners. I do want to note that the applicant team was not present during that CPAC meeting. Moving on to project analysis. So the proposed project is consistent with the general plan, community plan, and zoning code as conditioned. The project is compatible with the surrounding zoning and land uses. There are no significant environmental concerns. While this request was not supported by the Fair Oaks CPAC, it was found consistent with the design guidelines by the DRAC. One thing to note as well is that this request does provide some housing opportunities, and then it is compliant with all applicable lot development standards for the RD5 zoning district. And then just some key conditions. Again, condition 8 pertains to the evaluation of future building footprints, and in condition 9, again, to the potential tree impacts associated with the request. So moving on to staff recommendation, Planning and Environmental Review staff recommends that the Planning Commission take the following actions. Recognize that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Guidelines 15183A, Public Resources Code Section 21083.3. Adopt the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program. Approve the tentative subdivision map subject to findings and conditions. And lastly, find the project in substantial compliance with design guidelines, subject to findings and conditions. This concludes the end of my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. Additionally, we do have our applicant team present in attendance as well, and they're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. Are there any questions for county staff?
I just have one. It says it's, the CEQA doesn't apply. Is that the new CEQA that was passed just recently, the changes to that, or the old version of it?
I'll defer to our environmental coordinator.
Good evening, Julie Newton, Environmental Coordinator with County Planning. The statutory exemption that this project is being moved forward with is not the new legislation that we saw pass through the legislature this summer. This is a CEQA streamlining provision that has been around for quite a while that relies on previously certified EIRs for general plans and community plans, and is specific to those projects that are consistent with the development density of those plans. So this project is consistent with the development density that was analyzed in the general plan, which is why we're moving forward with this particular exemption. But it does have different provisions than the legislation that was passed this summer.
Thank you.
Just some clarifying remarks. So I'm looking at some of the letters that have been submitted, and I just wanted to make sure for accuracy and for my own edification. There's a reference to an April CPAC meeting, and I think you alluded to May, and I'm presuming it's
Yeah, let me go back to that slide. May 9th was the draft meeting. April 3rd, 2024 was the CPAC meeting.
Was the CPAC? Okay.
Yeah.
And in the letter here, it says CPAC members unanimously voted to deny the project. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. That vote was 4 yes, 0 no, 3 absent.
Okay. And were there multiple recommendations that were born out of that conversation?
In terms of like what the applicant could do in terms of modifying, I think a lot of the requests again kind of stem from the public comment. I think there wasn't any like specific recommendation in the like actual, but there was suggestions, and again a lot of that came from the public comment.
Okay. I'm just trying to dot my I's and cross my T's off the
No worries.
what's been submitted here. And you alluded to both footprints and the trees. Can you dive a little bit more into the mitigation efforts on the tree removal, as well as the conversations that led to where we landed with the proposed footprint sizes?
Yeah, so the mitigation measures wise, maybe I'll defer to our environmental review more on that. But in terms of kind of the building footprints and all that, that came about just from project design. And that was something that the applicant team had provided in terms of arborist report with the tree exhibit. And they identified that if they were to do these building footprints, there would be significant tree effects. That was something that was of concern to the DRAC. And that's why they had requested conditions be added to the project so that they could be further analyzed in terms of the impacts for each of the lots once developed in the future.
Okay. And what are the current lot sizes in the immediate surrounding community of Highland Hills there?
Yeah, so we go back to, I believe it was attachment 1. Just give me 1 second.
We'll have an opportunity for staff, or for public testimony.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. So we do have along Shrewsbury and Glenbar Way, as the gentleman had mentioned in the crowd, we are working with lots that are around over 10,000. I believe there are some that are a bit larger. Kind of towards the eastern part, I think 12,000 is what we're looking at. The lots just north on the other side of Sunset, we do have some lots and sizes around the 8,000, 7,000. I know these lots I had mentioned are between 5,300 and 8,000 square feet. Even though they're a bit smaller, they are compliant with the minimum lot size required for RD5 zoning, which I believe that is depicted in the staff report.
All right. And
that'd be 52, Commissioner, 5,200 square feet minimum lot size.
okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your insights there. Okay. One last question on outreach. There was some questions as far as the outreach universe. County staff obviously reaches out and doing their due diligence to communicate with the community and to solicit their feedback. And I was just trying to, there's some letters here that question that outreach effort. And I was hoping you might be able to shed some light on what that effort looked like, to answer some of those concerns that have been raised.
Yeah, I understand the concerns with the neighbors on the outreach. Obviously, I know the project, has potential to have effects. In terms of the county outreach, when we do the mailing, the noticing for the CPAC, we mail all tenants and owners within the 500 feet. At the CPAC meeting, there was also a request by other neighbors outside of that 500-foot, mailing area that requested to be notified. And so I'll be honest, had a bit of a blunder. The first time when we tried getting on this, we fixed that mailing error noticing, got them noticed. I think it was about 16 additional neighbors that wanted to be notified. So that was kind of our outreach in terms of CPAC as well as for this final hearing. I understand there was concern saying that, only 2 meetings, to be notified. We do request, or we do have on our general application, our applicants fill out kind of their outreach plans. In terms of outreach plans outside of what we do, our basic outreach, which is notifying tenants and owners within that 500 feet, it was our understanding, the applicant indicated that they had done some in-person outreach. I believe it was sometime in August 2023. And then I know that the project engineer as well had sent out letters regarding those offsite improvements on whether they would allow them to build them with the request. I believe they provided a set of the letter responses where respectfully the neighbors had denied those efforts. So I'd probably leave the rest of the outreach and kind of what the applicant did apart from what staff already does as our procedures.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your presentation. All right, at this time, we will turn it over to the applicant or representative of the applicant. Good evening.
Good evening. Javed Siddiqui, JTS Engineering. Saeed.
Anfar, I'm the owner.
And Saeed is the one that went around the neighborhood. We did the engineering based on staff input. What you have before you is the resultant of a few years' worth of working. So Saeed can explain what you found out. Yes.
I met with several neighbors surrounding areas, and I spoke with them. At the beginning, most of the concern was about the transient going through our property, through that street, through their houses, and they break down in the chain links around the property. We fixed that. I called the police several times. They moved them out. And then I discussed about the improvements. And most of them, they said they are undecided. They will let me know. And they didn't get back to me. I talked to 5, 6 of them. I explained what we're going to do. They said, oh, we are talking to our husband, or we talk about the family members. I talked to the daughter of one of the owner properties. She said, oh, my parents are in bad shape, but I discussed that with them, but never got back to me. I gave them information. So that's my contact with those people was.
Okay.
On the engineering side, we just drew the plans and sent out letters requesting right away. But every one of them was denied.
Okay. Is there any questions for the applicant?
Well, perhaps not necessarily directly pertinent to the discussion, but the intention of lots there to be subdivided, are these going to be owner-occupied lots?
Yes, they are owner-occupied.
So you're going to subdivide all 7, and they would be built individually and sold individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. At this time, we'll invite the public to comment. As I understand it, we have nearly a dozen individuals that wish to speak, so we have 2 minutes for each. For any representative of an organization, we'll give 4 minutes. And we've got our queue up here, so in the effort to streamline the process, those that are slated to speak, if we could have you all stand up and take an oath administered by the clerk, then we can run through the names in order to speak.
If you wish to address the commission, please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is, I do. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give to this board is the truth, so help you God? If you do not so swear, do you affirm? I do. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi there. My name is Pamela Canellis. I will be very brief because I've already submitted comments in writing that you should have in opposition to the project. I just want to stress that, as proposed, this project would be devastating on the existing neighborhood. Traffic is already a real problem at that intersection of Medford and Sunset. You have a big apartment complex on the north side of Sunset. We get parking from them, people entering and leaving Sunset at the same point. I personally worked with the Department of Transportation to back off the parking on the southwest corner of Medford and Sunset, and that helped a little bit. But adding more cars to the mix here is going to be a disaster. It really is. The neighborhood is all cul-de-sacs, dead ends. It's just going to change the entire nature of that neighborhood. And it's a fairly physically close footprint. So I don't see how this could benefit anybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you. I also support what Pam says. I do feel that the owners of the property do have the right to improve that property. However, they do have ingress and egress. It is a private driveway that they should be able to utilize and not impact our community by opening up the dead-end streets that we currently have on Glenbar and Shrewsbury. They can come off of Sunset and go in there and upgrade and make those improvements. There has been no noise studies, to my understanding. There haven't been any traffic. And we have a lot of young children that live in the community that would impose a risk to their safety. They're holding back a piece of the property, and then they're only having the 7 lots. I think it needs to be taken into consideration, that entire piece of property and the existing homes that are there. And to me, they need to utilize, and maybe it means they don't have as many parcels that they will be able to build on and improve on. But I think for their community and our community, it just seems that it would work out better, in my opinion, to use the existing easement into the property. And I think, and we kept getting different maps too. Some of them had, cul-de-sacs. Some of them had wrapped around now. And we just are getting late information all the time on this. And I don't know about the fire department, how they have looked into this either, and the removal of the trees is a big issue also. But thank you for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Wanda, and my parents' home is on the end of Glenbar, so it would be one of the houses that is directly impacted if they open up the street at the end of Glenbar. I'm just kind of getting caught up on what's going on because my parents were ill, very ill on hospice the last couple of years, and they have passed away. But I do want to emphasize that opening up the streets for Glenbar and Shrewsbury will only benefit the applicant. It will not benefit anyone in Highlands Hills at all. based on the traffic that's going to be there, the houses that are crammed together that they want to build, where are they going to park if they have extra cars? Are they going to park on our streets? I mean, that's a real concern for us. And I'm just wanting to plead to you to really take that into consideration, because it's not just, impacting them, it's impacting our whole neighborhood.
The other thing too, in terms of these off-site improvements, so I guess they said that they came and talked to the neighbors about off-site improvements. I have no idea what they're talking about. You can see that house that we own is going to be majorly impacted. So you have the road as it goes this way and this way. So you got a road right on the side of the house. So the house sits this way. They're going to plan on putting a road here. This one goes to Glenbar. I apologize. I don't know what the name of that street is. But this house slopes down. The property slopes down towards the road. I don't know if they're going to build a retaining wall or, in terms of off-site improvements, I'm not sure exactly what they mean. Does that, because I guess there was some kind of script inside here where if you had a HVAC and you had to pull a permit, then you had to finish the rest of the sidewalk, or I'm not even sure how that whole thing works. But this is the first time we're learning about that. I don't know, I don't know what he's talking about in terms of talking to people, but we definitely didn't get talked to.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next speaker.
Sorry, just to clarify, was the gentleman Gil?
Yes.
Okay. Or you're Gil? Who's the last gentleman who just spoke? What was your name?
Your name, sir?
For the record?
We just want to get your name for the record. Thank you very much.
All set? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
First of all, thanks for letting us speak. My name's Gil Medell. I live at 4707 Medford, within 500 feet of the proposed development. I submitted a letter back on August 22nd. Don't have time to go through it all. I'll touch on the highlights, though. I do not support, and I'm opposed to this specific tentative subdivision map. I do not support a CEQA exemption. I have concerns that there's a degradation of the neighborhood character and compatibility. The lot sizes, they're just not representative of the true nature of the neighborhood the way it is right now. One of the reasons we chose to buy in this neighborhood was because of the safety that's associated with having a dead end or a cul-de-sac at the end. And that's all going to change. I'm really concerned about that. Placing 7 lots in a space that would normally hold 3 is just incompatible with the neighborhood the way it's set up. I don't support approval of this plan because the way I see it, those 7 lots are not going to be able to accommodate the multiple vehicles, boats, trailers, what have you, that often come with home ownership. Haven't seen very much in terms of details when it comes to how they're going to accommodate all the parking. Are they going to have garages or just parking spaces or 2-car garages? And that's also very concerning to me. There's already concerns about traffic and safety. It's a busy sunrise and sunset is busy in and of itself, and then we're just one street off, a lot of traffic coming in there already, and adding more residents to the neighborhood will only increase the safety issues with that single outlet. Right on the corner, we have kids, and we're concerned about that opening up, not to mention the loss of green space, environmental concerns, as well as just overall lack of project transparency. And I can echo the sentiments that were presented previously, very lacking in details up until now. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Greg, are you available?
My name is Greg Kochman. I live at 7972 Shrewsbury. I live one house away from the very dead end, and bought there for a reason. Nice, quiet neighborhood, safety for kids, basketball in the street. And you think about now, you're going down to this space at the end of the block, carving all that out, putting in more people, and then going onto the street behind us on Glenbar. I got issues with it. The quietness of the neighborhood, the privacy, and I understand development. I've been in real estate my whole adult life. But there comes a time when your neighborhood is really your sanctuary and is really being taken away. I would say take some of that money, instead of developing more homes to go in there, make a green space out of it. Do something to really enhance the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to elevate the value of properties. I think people are, I don't know what it's going to do that way. But we moved there for a reason, and now, you look at some of this development and it's like, maybe I'm going to move on. Get back to, where we got some space in between. And that's my concern. And not just that, but the noise. What about the infrastructure with police and all the stuff for fire hydrants coming in, all that stuff? There's got to be a way to just keep the neighborhood sort of the way it is. Improve it the way it is. That's my take.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Alan. There we go.
All right, commissioners, thank you for skipping dinner to be here with us. So I'm Greg's neighbor. I'm one of the four houses that have the biggest impacts of this project. So you heard about hazards, road hazards, traffic, aesthetics. You heard all of it, right? You saw the letters, but sleight of hand here, that's the name of the game here. Now let me explain. So imagine you have a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old plays outside. Someone sends you a letter, asks you to carve out a piece of your road, no compensation at all. Obviously, you want to say no. And Mr. Huerta mentioned that properties range from 5 to 8,000. 5 lots are 5,000, 1 is 6, 1 is 8. The average there is 5.6, while the rest of the neighborhood is 10,000 plus. So obviously, we're going to say no, right? So that's the only notification we ever got. And to show how sincere they were, they didn't even bother showing up to a CPAC meeting in April. Okay, and then now we're here all of a sudden, barely got notice, maybe a couple weeks ago, and here we are. And they changed the map where, okay, now they're not doing the offsite improvement, right, to carve a road. Now I'm paying for it if I ever pull a permit. And who knows what the cost would be. We asked Mr. Huerta, he refers back to him, and of course, we can't ever get hold of him. So we're basically getting ghosted left and right. It's a sleight of hand, back and forth. I mean, you see the reasons why, right? You see the facts, why we shouldn't do it, but the sincerity involved with the developer is not there to improve. I mean, I guess the housing crisis sucks, right? In California, we get it. But this is not the way we do it. To put icing on the cake, we're going to take a property value hit and just makes it worse for everyone in the neighborhood. So that's just my comments here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker?
Are we able to go together for sisters?
Both?
So
More
it's
than
gonna
welcome.
be Estrella and Joanna Gomez.
So you're going to do 1 minute each? Is that the plan?
We're going to try to. Yes.
Okay, we just need the other speaker's name.
Joanna.
Okay, and
Okay, hello. My name is Estrella Gomez, and I live at 7965 Shrewsbury Avenue. I am a state employee who works from home. I attend weekly meetings and work on a helpline every day, helping stakeholders. By connecting the roads, I will no longer be able to work productively or do my job with the amount of noise that will occur with the construction. When we bought this house, we made sure it was at a dead end so we wouldn't have to worry about oncoming traffic for my nieces and nephews when they play outside. A lot of us have lived here for a long time. We are happy living here. We look out for one another, and with the apartments that are across the street, we have seen on occasion some crime. So we're not sure what type of people are going to be moving into these houses, which is a major concern for us. The applicant also did not attend the meeting that took place on April 3rd, 2024. To me, this shows that they are not willing to hear the community out or willing to work with us. It shows me that they are only willing to look out for one another, and it looks like their property, which is on the remainder lot, wouldn't even be involved. Something that also is concerning for us is the amount of debris that's going to be affecting all of the houses and the elderly that live in that community.
And then just piggyback off of that, one of the reasons, the main reason why we
You're
brought
both
this-
allowed 2 minutes. I'm not trying to push or rush anyone.
I just wanted to point out, having children, their safety is my number one concern. And we have a lot of kids that are playing basketball, still have that neighborly-like community. It's just going to be more stress on us knowing that there's going to be a lot more traffic on this very short amount of dead end where for us was very productive to have for the sake of our children.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
And our next speaker, Scott.
He had to go pay his meter. I'm Adrian.
Oh, sure. Adrian, why don't we go ahead and have you speak, and then we'll see what we can do waiting for Scott.
Thank you. My name is Adrian Calham. I live at 7984 Glenbar Way. I'm within the 500 feet. Nobody had come to us to speak to us, to me or my wife, about the planning. We did receive the letters in the mail, but no personal contact. This is already a dangerous neighborhood. As Pam spoke to, the intersection at Sunset and Medford is highly dangerous with all the traffic from the apartment complex on the north side. Additionally, where we live at the top of a hill, and I put this in the letter that I wrote. It's when cars come up Medford and make a right onto Glenbar, that is a blind turn. And so my son and his friends play basketball right at the top of the hill, and it is a highly dangerous turn with cars coming around Medford onto Glenbar Way. Additionally, the reverse is true. Coming off Glenbar, hanging a left onto Medford is another blind turn. And there are families and there are children on the middle of Medford that have to compete with already neighbors and visitors turning left from Glenbar downhill onto Medford, in addition to people coming up Medford. So you have like little Ryan and little Tyson riding their little electric scooters up and down the street. And if we open that up to 7 houses, what is that, 14 more cars minimum that we're going to be adding to traffic? And so safety is the big one for me, for my child and the neighborhood children. But also you're looking at adding, on average, houses that are half the size of the lot in the neighborhood. And that is going to destroy our property value that we've earned, that we've worked so hard to build equity in. And it's absolutely not uniform to what the rest of the community looks like. And I think that's a big deal. It can be done because Glenbar is already split between east and west. The east part was built later and it looks really good. And so there is a way to do it and such that it is kind of a little bit more uniform. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is Sam McGee available? Sam?
Hang in there with me.
We're still hanging out waiting for Scott.
All right. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Sam McGee. I live at 8,000 Glenbar Way. Been there 50 years. A couple of times, isn't it? Now, when I first went in there, people said, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Well, near Sunrise Sunset." They were proud. I said, "God, that's a great address. Wish I could live there." And as time has gone by, Oglesby and Polton did a development in there years ago, and we had a meeting with them. And they were wanting to put in duplexes. And my question was, do you see any duplexes in this neighborhood? No, we didn't. I said, we don't want them. They're not conforming. They don't go with the flow of our development. And so he didn't. And I really appreciate and respected him for it. And turned out they were great homes. We have lots in there, a minimum 10,000 square feet, plus or minus. Homes are 2,000 square feet, plus or minus. And they're pretty much right on schedule there. Now, here's the thing that I says speaks the loudest for any subdivision. I'm sorry, I was a loan officer at construction loans at Sac Savings. So I always looked for conformity. I looked for what are you doing good for the community versus what are you doing to put money in your pocket. And it comes into play. But the thing of it is, where we live, most of those homes in there are sold or have been sold by attrition. Now that says a hell of a lot for a neighborhood. That means people want to live there and they want to stay. And they want it to stay why they moved there. It's as simple as it gets. And I really think that as long as we can maintain it and that level, it'll be good for the community, it'll be good for everybody. And in my mind, I think I told them at the last meeting, the highest, best use in my mind was make that a horse property. And you say, why? Because in 15 minutes, you put a horse in that wagon, you can be at Sunrise Park out at Sunset by the river. That's where we live. We live in Fair Oaks. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. You guys do a great job.
Thank you very much. And Scott, are you available?
Hi there, Scott Harrington. I live on Glenbar Way within the 500-foot notification zone. What I can tell you is that I have also gone door to door with all of the residents of the neighborhood to inform them of the public hearings because there were lots of miscommunication or lack thereof. What the applicant here has stated, where he spoke to the residents within that zone of the 500 feet, that's inaccurate, just like Wanda and her husband had said. What I can also tell you is that their plan is not cohesive with what our neighborhood is currently, right? The lot sizes. We are all single-story homes. We have no idea, with what the plans are. It sounds like he's going to leave that up to the people that purchase those properties, if it's going to be a two-story or one-story. We're worried about the overflow of parking coming into Shrewsbury or Glenbar. There's only one stop sign in the entire neighborhood, and that is at Sunset and Medford. The other two streets, Shrewsbury and Glenbar, have no stop signs. We don't have any speed humps. We don't have any street lights. It's almost like a forgotten community. We've got lots of children that are learning how to ride bikes. They're playing basketball out in the street. I live at the peak of Glenbar, and I can see that there are constantly cars coming and cutting through what they think is going to be a shortcut and avoiding a traffic light at Sunrise and Sunset. Once they hit the peak, they realize that this is a dead end, and then they turn around in my neighbor's driveway and then speed out faster than they came in. So I feel personally, if we connect Shrewsbury and Glenbar together, that we're going to have an expressway, or certainly this was my biggest concern, is connecting Lago de Coma Way. And the CPAC commission meeting, they wanted to make sure that that was completely shut down, that would never be an option. So thank you. I see my time's up.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals that wish to provide comments at this time? No? All right, we'll return back to the applicant to respond to public testimony.
Come on, you have to respond to that.
Well, most of the concern I heard about traffic.
We need a little closer to the microphone.
Saeed.
Yes. Well, Sunrise Boulevard is very heavy traffic area. As soon as you go from Sunset to Sunrise Boulevard, you are facing a major traffic issue. So that little strip of the road, which they are concerned about the traffic, is not going to solve the traffic issue, because the main issue is the Sunrise because of heavy traffic on that area. Secondly, the most of the concern I heard about their kids playing in the street. They want a dead end to, a street is for traffic, it's not for playing or putting the basketball and stuff like that. Thirdly, they said they did not contact us. I did not contact any individual, only I contacted 5 houses which is impacted by right-of-way issue, not the whole neighborhood. That's what 5 or 6 of them I contacted. And also, I knew their parents are sick. The gentleman was saying no. I went there. They said there was a lady outside. She said, I'm the daughter, and my parents are sick, and I will discuss it with them. That's what they knew. So these are my response so far.
Okay. I have a couple questions, if I may. I heard from some of the public testimony that I think one said it can be done, but this just wasn't the right configuration. Is there, looking at the 1.77 acres and dividing it up into 7 parcels, you've heard some of the community and their concerns. Is there any openness to either one of you to re-engage with the community to try to address some of their concerns to where we can, have something that the local residents feel is more reflective with the existing neighborhood there in Highland Hills? Is there a willingness to work with them to scale some of these parcels down or to reconfigure the lot sizes or to address any other concerns that you've heard this evening?
As the county mentioned, we look at many different design, different plans, and the one we came up, that's the best one we came up. We did a lot of drawing, a lot of planning, but none of them, it works. And so this was the best option we came up based off the previous several design we did already.
Understood. Yes. I don't know what the vote is up here, and we're missing 2 commissioners, and I'm wanting to try to make everyone happy. And it sounds like there's some willingness from the community here, and maybe there was a scheduling issue that wasn't able to attend one of the CPAC meetings, but they wanted to increase the line of communication, and that seems to be an issue, and I'm wondering if there's more time that's needed to address that.
We can do that.
What they're saying is to discuss with the neighbors, see if there is a compromise or an alternate.
Well, all the issue has already been discussed. Okay. And what else we can do, I don't know. Okay. But yeah, there is some concerns valid, some of them are not. Everything has been said.
Maybe we can start on the concerns that are valid, that you acknowledge that are valid. Which ones are those that you believe are valid that we can address?
One of the issues is traffic. They are concerned about the traffic. I don't anticipate few more cars really being such a big traffic issue in that area. As I said, the main issue is the Sunrise Boulevard, and Sunset is also transitioning from 2 lanes at the beginning to 1 lane. That's also an issue too. And they hit all the garbage can we put outside in the fronts because of the transition is so 2 lanes suddenly become to 1 lane in a short time. And that's one of the issues we have had. And what main concern of the issue is the Sunrise Boulevard, not the Sunset Avenue.
Understood. I visited the property over the weekend. I saw the 2-lane transition into 1 there at Sunset and Sunrise, and can see that and there's a blind spot there that's caused by some overgrowth of trees, and I can see there's concern there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the issue. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the dais, my fellow commissioners?
Just of staff. Just follow up for staff.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
No? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it back to deliberation. I believe there's some questions for county staff that commissioners would like to field.
At least one. As it relates to, there was a comment around the potential creation of what are commonly referred to as zipper streets, connecting one thoroughfare to another through a particular parcel. Can someone speak to that?
I don't know the definition of a zipper street.
Talking about a shortcut?
Shortcut?
Correct, exactly. No one's ever heard the term zipper street? Okay.
Sorry.
All right, as long as I'm not the only one. I'm making it up here. Yeah, a shortcut.
Shortcut.
We're not creating a shortcut through what is currently a cul-de-sac.
I guess it would. I guess I don't understand the idea that it would be creating a shortcut, since it wouldn't be connecting to any other streets outside of the Shrewsbury Avenue and Glenbar Way. So it's not creating another outlet to Sunset Avenue or Sunrise Boulevard. So I don't believe it would be considered a shortcut street to any other surrounding area.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks.
I guess my question about kind of dovetails off of yours. So the way this map looks, you're basically connecting two dead ends.
Correct.
Basically cul-de-sacs. You're connecting two cul-de-sacs
They are
with
not.
this road.
These two are not cul-de-sacs. These are two dead-end streets, dead-end
Dead
public
end streets. That you're going to connect together to make into what, one giant cul-de-sac?
It would just be a through street. It'd be connecting the two dead-end streets.
Like a horseshoe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can we possibly pull up the map,
Sure.
aerial map of the cul-de-sac so we can get a little better? I think there's some
Yeah.
question of it.
This is the proposed road, and you have the two dead-end streets. So it looks kind of like a horseshoe or a strip and down. So it's not creating an exit to another major
Correct.
thing. Okay.
Correct. I think they'd be called elbows, like elbows. Yeah. Yeah.
So just to kind of follow up on it, as we're learning new terminologies for elbows and zippers and cul-de-sacs and others. So these are dead ends. There are no property owners, but there's some easement or right-of-way. I'm trying to, there's some property owners that have been given notification that if this project, or that they may be financially responsible for any upgrades. And I'm just, maybe you can shed a little bit more light so we could better understand
Yeah.
the dynamic there.
We do have Javier Zaragoza with County Engineering.
Okay, wonderful.
Who can help explain that process.
Good evening. My name is Javier Zaragoza with County Engineering Site Improvement Permit Section. So that is correct. So currently, the way the plan is laid out for the tentative map, there is those elbows on the corner. So when you close those elbows on the corner, it does end up going beyond the boundary of the subdivision. And so whenever those properties do come in with the building permit, they would be responsible to complete that connection.
Mr. Commissioner. So who's responsible?
So in this particular case, the applicant here, he's responsible to improve anything within their boundaries of their tentative map.
I understand
When we
that.
were talking at the very beginning of this map with the applicant and his team, I suggested to reach out to the adjacent property owners to acquire the right-of-way and have those improvements installed. My understanding was that he did. He reached out to the property owners, and they denied the request.
So just to help clarify this for me, he builds, they don't put in the improvements, it just stays the way it is, or does someone come in and tell them they have to put in the improvements?
No, so he would have to come in with the building permit to trigger the county asking for those improvements to be installed.
By the applicant or by someone else?
By the property owner.
So the owner of the adjacent property?
That is correct.
Would have to pay for the improvements if this project goes through?
And when I say improvements, we're just talking about
curb, gutter, sidewalk?
Just around that corner piece, so maybe 10, 15 feet of frontage. That's correct.
For all 4 of these properties that are
Negative, only for the 2 corner properties and that's on the north end. Well, I'm not sure where my north arrow is on that exhibit, but I'm assuming if north straight up to the left, so the north and south properties. Do I have a? Oh. All right, so it would be this property owner. And the property owner over on this side.
So so I understand correctly, the applicant goes to get building permits to build on this property. Once he gets approved for the permits to build, then those 2 property owners have to put in the improvements.
Okay.
Javier, do you mind if I jump in?
Please.
I mean, my understanding typically is that for a subdivision, if they require off-site improvements like these elbows, the applicant has the responsibility initially as conditioned to go and acquire the easement from the adjacent property. If they cannot acquire that, then we as the county requiring that off-site improvement, we have to go and get it through eminent domain. And we do require the applicant to pay for that whole process and pay for the acquisition of the property. But that's the way the process works. It's not like we just go to the adjacent property and say, you've got to do this. We kind of do, because it's through the entire eminent domain. There's a whole process for that.
So once we as a county take eminent domain responsibility of that property, who's then responsible for putting in the improvements?
The applicant here. Yeah, we would then have the property right to do that. But he can't do it before.
So we would take eminent domain of that property and then tell the property owners they have to put in the improvements.
This applicant would do the building, yes.
Not the owners.
They just get paid
for their strip of property.
The segment of property.
So the applicant pays for the improvements after eminent domain?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, I understand now. I thought it was reversed.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions.
All right. Thank you, Javier. Appreciate it. Any other questions or concerns or?
Mr. Chairman, I do have concerns that maybe the petitioner needs to spend a little more time with the community like you had originally talked. I don't disagree with his desire to add homes there, but I think, in my opinion, there should be a little more involvement with the community about what is going there and how it's going in, especially given what we just heard about in terms of eminent domain on people's property. So I'm not quite sure process-wise, but is it appropriate to make a motion to remove this from the agenda to give the applicant more time to try to talk to the community?
That's just a continuance.
Okay.
You're going to ask him to go do that. I believe his response was he's done what he could.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I'm sure there's disagreement as to how much, coordination or consultation has happened, but yeah, you could move to continue in hopes that something, this additional conversation would occur.
And does that take a motion to do that?
Sure,
Or
it
can
takes
the
three
chairman
of
do
you.
that?
Also keeping in mind, so apparently there were some neighbors who aren't here who wanted a continuance. I don't know if the applicant is interested in a continuance since there's only 3 of you here currently.
If I may jump in, Bill and commissioners, I believe this is the 5th hearing.
Okay.
So we're at the max of the number of hearings per SB 330.
And that doesn't include if it goes to the board, right? That would be number 6.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
And we're deciding here of compliance with RD5 and just that it's adhering to county guidelines.
Yeah, and that would be a good time for me, and I don't know, which way you're going to vote at all, but there are some state law provisions regarding the findings you have to make when a development project comes in and it meets all the zoning and it's consistent with the general plan. I think we've had a couple of these, maybe not, you haven't seen one yet, but when they comply with all the objective zoning standards, the findings requirement is a little more rigorous to deny it or to reduce the density. So I'm just going to read it to make sure I don't get it wrong, but.
Appreciate that. As I understand it, our guardrails are narrowed on this.
Correct.
That is correct, and that is the case with this project. If you're looking for something, Bill, this is consistent with the existing zoning. So I'm interested to hear what Bill's going to read.
Yeah, so you'd have to find that the housing development project would have a specific adverse impact upon the public health or safety unless the project is disapproved or reduced in density. So they define specific adverse impact? And that is defined as a significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable impact based on objective, identified, written, public health or safety standards, policies, or conditions. So basically what you're looking for is a written, objective health or safety standard. And you got to be able to show that this project would violate that. You got to quantify it too and show that it would violate that standard.
So can you explain the issue about 5 meetings and that particular thing that sounds like it's prohibiting us from continuing this another time?
Yeah. So I think that's a fairly recent addition to the government code. The requirement, they don't want to have too many meetings. They don't want to allow local agencies to, push these and delay these on and on and on. So the requirement is generally yes, you can't have more than 5 meetings. Now, what is a meeting? When we had the other project, Mission Whitney, that one, however long ago that was, 6 months, a year ago now, there was a bit of an issue about what kind of meetings, are we allowed to have. So for instance, there are initial staff meetings where they kind of go through the requested entitlements and conditions and things like that. And in my opinion, that doesn't qualify as one of the 5 meetings. But when you get, certainly CPAC and you guys and the board qualifies as those kinds of meetings. But planning is saying 5, so we want to be careful about that. And given that we're up close to that wall, a continuance probably isn't worth it.
Why not?
Because I don't think that
Outcomes.
my personal opinion is that continuing to allow the applicant to talk to the neighbors anymore is not going to be productive. That's just my kind of, I don't mean to be cynical, but that's just my experience. And based on the applicant saying that he feels like that he has talked to them already.
So, Mr. Chairman, can we give the applicant a chance to tell us that verbally? That he isn't interested in having another goal?
I think
in
he's
it?
already stated
Yeah,
that.
I don't want to speak for him. That's what I thought I heard.
I'm not sure you truly
Paraphrasing.
understood the directness of the question. I don't know. Could we hear from the applicant?
We can certainly invite him back to the podium if you'd like to address that question.
Well, and since he's coming up here, if I may just kind of add on to his list of questions, I guess, what are even like the potential alternatives? I mean, if this is not your first or second meeting on this project, you know, if a continuance is on the table, and I'm not suggesting it is or should be, I guess, hypothetically, even like what would come back, even potentially different?
What do you say? They're talking about it.
Like, what are the even potential moving pieces on the board, so to speak? And if there are none, that's
Basically, as I said, everything has been said and all the comments has been made, and we can do nothing else, basically. I'm open to any suggestion, but you must make a comment, but you want to do any changes? Except I'm open to any suggestion. If any suggestion there, I can. But as I said, everything has been said already, clearly and loudly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nothing would be changed, like continuance, I guess, would be the same.
Okay, and that's, I think, what we heard earlier.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that you're saying you didn't have any more movement on anything that the neighborhood asked you about changing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we look at these, we're good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming back up. We look at these projects on a case-by-case basis, and I can't help but kind of reflect on the previous application that has a very similar kind of configuration where we were looking for egress and ingress and safety for kind of the circular, or at least for the traffic configuration for the property. And here is a project that has on its own accomplished that. And I know there are some local residents here that have taken a lot of time to reach out to the applicant to highlight their issues. I know that the applicant was not able to attend one of the meetings, and so there's this lack of kind of communication that the residents were hoping to have with the applicant to address some of the lot size questions and concerns. I do feel that this project could have, with a little bit more time, maybe, with more communication and collaboration between both the local residents and the applicant, made some good-hearted, good faith adjustments to hopefully relieve some of the concerns. But I've heard the community. I understand there's some frustration. I understand that there's also concerns about just the timing. I think there was even an allegation here that there's a concerted effort to silence the voices of the impacted community members because of the timing, and there is no concerted effort. We've done what we can. We didn't schedule this specifically to avoid public participation. We've encouraged public participation, and have tried to at least get some of those concerns relayed to the applicant. So I'll pause there and ask if any of the commissioners have any thoughts on this application.
Yes, I do, but also just want some clarification before we do what we need to do. from my interpretation of your reading of our latitude to deal with this issue, I haven't seen anything in here that, in my layman terms, reaches the level of what you described to be necessary to deny it. And I know it's just a layman's term of it, but it sounds like it's pretty difficult for us to justify in general, but given the information I have, I can't see a justification for denying. Am I close to being on the mark?
Yes. I am not aware of a standard that's being violated. Doesn't mean there isn't one, but, you know, I don't know of one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one.
And I've heard the public testimony. I've recognized the concerns that have been voiced about children playing in the streets and the added traffic. I hear you. I need. That's not what the question was. I'm not going to have deliberation back and forth. I apologize that there was a moment for that. Commissioner Devlin, do you have any thoughts?
Thank you. I guess for me, I can personally kind of draw distinct contours between the difference between this project and the last one. And I'm very familiar with this area. Spent actually a great deal of time in homes adjacent to or near adjacent to this parcel. So I am familiar with it. And I guess while for me it may be different density-wise than what is currently out there, these lots are still, one, in alignment with our general plan, and two, for perspective, are slightly larger than the average lot in the neighborhood of like Lamb Park, for example, which are generally 50 by 100. Some of which are larger, 50 by 75 or even, or 50 by 125. But nonetheless, these lots on the smaller end are larger than the average lot in the neighborhood of Lamb Park. And that's what I think I would kind of expect to have be built there. These aren't going to be 16 one-unit apartments. These are going to be 4 2.5s, 2,700 square feet, with a garage. Beyond that, I also don't think I can come to find anything that is objectively inconsistent with what the standards are. So for those reasons, I'm going to be happy to support the project.
Okay. Is that a motion?
I'm happy to make that a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Okay. And just to reiterate for those that are, because I hear some concerns out there that, we're looking to see if the project this is the lane that we're in. We're not looking, we can't dictate designs of any proposed dwelling there. This is to find the project in compliance with the county's design guidelines, and approving a subdivision map that still has to go through a process if and when those appropriate times come to bear. So we're really struggling up here to make sure that we stay within the lanes of what is being presented for this evening. So I have a motion. Is there a second?
Reluctantly, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please call the roll? All right.
And that vote does pass with all members voting yes.
All right, thank you very much. And then we are moving on to I believe that's the last actionable item, and now we're on to the planning director's report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Brief report tonight. It looks like the next couple of hearings are, I'll say, relatively light in terms of number of items, although the next one will be somewhat interesting. We are bringing forward for a workshop at the Planning Commission a zoning code amendment related to crowing fowl, so roosters. Something different for a change. I won't spoil it. I'll let the staff. I'll let staff have the fun. So suffice to say, that's what's coming next time, along with 2 other items. I do know that we have a couple of items in October, a couple of hearings in October that are looking much fuller, and we're working to actively manage some of those agendas as we speak. So.
Okay. There's been I appreciate the update. Is there any other movement on updating the Planning Commission's website to include some of the items that we discussed?
Yeah, so right now, all the commissioners' email address is up right now. I know that there was an interest in having some brief bios of commissioners and headshots. If you have them, feel free to send them my way.
Okay, perfect.
We can get them up with the help of our IT folks.
Perfect, thank you very much.
I don't want to just randomly Google somebody's name and pick a headshot for you.
Wanted to make sure we had a formalized process for that. Is there, looking forward into the next year, are there any additional workshops, academies, or things that staff might bring to our attention that we should at least kind of keep on our radar that we might be invited to attend?
So we are, a couple of things going on. We're anticipating, obviously, the end of legislative session, whatever might come out of that. That will obviously engage some debate as to what goes into our zoning code amendment package as a result of that legislation. We want to do a good job of educating not just our staff, but you as commissioners of those changes, because obviously those potentially could affect what you see here as commissioners, what may become ministerial, meaning by right. I do know, well, I'm not going to say. I'm not sure about the timing of any other educational programs, but couple of things we're working on, housing related, as well as wireless cell towers, communication facilities. I have a big list of things to do. So.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Clerk, any miscellaneous scheduling items?
I have no items scheduled, but I will be sending out an attendance poll, so just look out for that.
Is that process working out for you?
It is.
Okay,
yes.
Wonderful. Okay. And then last but not least, is there any members of the public to provide comments on non-agenda items? Not seeing any, then we will adjourn at 8:04.